Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. I'm Preacher Moss, comedian extraordinaire. Before we get started, let me say Ramadan Mubarak. In advance, I'm hoping that everybody has a successful fast. Now, brothers and sisters, I'm here today to talk about the Islamic City 30-day challenge to love Allah more. What does that mean, Preacher? It means that we're all going to talk about the different ways that we can love Allah more, that we can dedicate ourselves and devote ourselves to the Most High, and in this special time of the year, Ramadan, get closer to our Lord. Now, the way I'm going to love Allah more, brothers and sisters, is I'm going to focus on correctness. Self-correctness, emotional correctness, spiritual correctness. Because I believe in this way I get closer to my Lord because I'm a lot more humble and a lot more open to His mercy and His wisdom. This was a big thing for me when I became Muslim, about self-correction, especially growing up in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, hearing all the noise about what I was supposed to be as a young black man, as a young black boy. And I found this calm, if you will. This calm that was passed down for me, from my relatives, my mom, my dad, all my relatives. It was that whole idea that we could self-correct ourselves. And I found this peace in the religion of Al-Islam. Now, you can't do what I'm going to do. I mean, don't copycat. Make your own video. I already said I'm going to love Allah more because I'm going to focus on self-correction. You have an opportunity to make your own video and talk about how you are going to love Allah more. That's right. So what are you standing there for? You got a limited amount of time. Ramadan is starting in like 15 minutes. I believe that you should get out and try to figure out how you're going to love Allah more. Make a video, 2-3 minutes. Join the challenge for Islamic City to love Allah more. I'm Preacher Moss. In advance, Ramadan Mubarak, and I'll be seeing you throughout this 30 days. Take care. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. Thank you for your patience. I'm feeling much better today. Like I said, when you get the allergies and you get older, the allergies can be a little bit more severe. Alhamdulillah, but I'm feeling better. My voice is stronger, and thank you for those du'as that were sent out. I felt them. Each and every one of them hit me right here in the Claritin. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. So listen, a couple notes here, just so you know. It's flashing all across the news. Maybe we'll talk about it tomorrow. I don't think I'm going to get to it today's show, but Donald Trump has been indicted for the hush money issue in New York City. So, yes, we are that much closer to him going to prison. I just want to put that out there, brothers and sisters, because he's not going to do probation. I'm telling you, when you lie that much, you can't do probation. You can't get in front of a judge and say, oops, it was my mistake. That being what it is, let me move that to the side and get into this whole space of celebrating Ramadan. As many of you just saw, the video that preceded the opening of the show is a 30-day challenge to love Allah more. We've actually removed the Ramadan. We're just trying to make it an ongoing challenge to love Allah more, which is more in line with what we do every day. I thought it would be a little bit disingenuous. We tried to make it all about Ramadan. I don't make it about Ramadan in my own life. I try to make it about daily observance, daily perspective about what I can do to improve myself and get closer to that narrative of being a good person, a good man, good husband, good wife, whatever it is, good son, good daughter that we're trying to do, and just be better in this creation. One of the things I'm going to do today as a part of this Ramadan challenge, this challenge, if you will, is I'm going to be transparent. Our subject matter today is addressing Black erasure, Black Muslim erasure in the Muslim community. Now, many people say, "Was this timely preach? Is this wrong?" Yeah, this is timely because there are a lot of people in population that are walking around this Ummah here in the United States, around the world, that carry, if you will, this luggage. In some places, carry this pain. In some cases, carry this discontent and contempt for the Ummah because we're not looked upon as equal in terms of our contributions and our achievements. Now, this is not anti-immigrant, and it's not that. I want to make sure that we're clear that this is not that. This is not the peeling back of you're indigenous, you're Muslim, you're immigrant. That has nothing to do with it. In fact, if it got to be that, it would be a worthless discussion. Let's just say what it is. It'd be a worthless discussion. What we have to do is kind of peel back these layers and talk about where this thing started And if we can get to a place where we can address how we work on it together. This feeling is only deepened since 9/11, when a call to action was made in the African American Muslim community to stand guard and stand on post for the Muslim Ummah that was not African American Muslim. And in this space, I have to say that fractures were revealed in our community because there was a space where advocacy was held and advocacy was ignored in many regards. So we're going to talk about that today. And it ain't going to be no long subject matter, but I'm going to point this out because it is growing. Coming out of the pandemic, it is growing as our masjids, particularly the African American Muslim community, as our masjids were slow to regain footing in some regards, the importance of those masjids somehow went by the wayside. That 2 years of COVID somehow reversed 20, 30 years of activism, not just in the Muslim community by Black Muslims, but also in the non-Muslim communities. And I feel it's important to address that today. This is the subject on the Shout Out Show. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for those duas. We'll be right back. Don't you move. Preacher Mars talking about Black Muslim erasure in the Muslim Ummah. Don't you move. All right, we're back. Thank you so much. Before we get started on today's subject, I want to make sure that we get into our comment section. We get into the shout out family that has stood by so long and been so loyal. Thank you, family, for being patient with me. This is one of those. This is weird. It's 2 years in a row where I kind of had some health issues around Ramadan. That's normally not my thing, but maybe that's Allah telling me something. He said, "Boy, you better slow down, or you better eat healthy, or get some sleep." Or some vitamins or something. Don't say nothing, Sultana. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this started. Let's go ahead and give a shout out. First and foremost, Sister Ree, how you doing? Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sister Ree, I've been down my allergies. I hope that you are feeling better. I've been concerned about you. If you need anything, call. Your brother's there. But I just want to make sure you're doing all right. Shout out to Derek. Shout out to Jawan. Make sure that Sister Ree is taken care of because you know how we are. My mom country folk. You gotta come lay eyes on and make sure you're okay. So just want to make sure that you're doing all right. Next up, my main man, Brother E. Erk. Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, beloved. How you doing? Thank you so much for joining the show. We talking about soldiers on this show. Man, I hope you're doing well. Peace and blessings to you. And I pray that your fast is going along well. Shout out to that South Carolina Ummah. We appreciate you as always. Man, what's the show without Brother Altaf Rashid? Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My main man. How you doing? Canadian envoy to the Shout Out Show. You're the only envoy we ever had, brother. We had ambassadors after you, but there's only going to be one envoy. We appreciate you coming all the way from Toronto, Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down. He doesn't miss a show. We appreciate you, brother. Like I said, wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I hope that your fast is going well. And when you shout out to your people up there, give them some love from the preacher man. Okay. Next up, my big brother Bilal Salahuddin and his queen sister Sonia Dalton Salahuddin joining us on the place to be. We appreciate you, big brother. How you doing? Wa alaikum assalam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, man. Thank you again for joining us on the program. I'm trying to get better, brother. It take a little bit. I'm thinking of my Uncle June. My Uncle June said, you get sick, he give one remedy, castor oil. He's like, what's wrong with you? I got shot. Castor oil. What's wrong? I'm having a heart attack. Get you some castor oil. What's wrong with you? I had a stroke. Take 2 things of castor oil. He believed in that castor oil, man. Allah be pleased with him. My main man. And we're going to just shout out. I was remiss because yesterday I gave shout outs, and I did give a shout out to executive producer, Sister Sultana Whitfield. Please forgive me. Wa alaikum assalam. Rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The sister that allows me to work and do my thing with no hands, make sure that everything is taken care of in the back. We appreciate you, Sister Sultana, and we're going to go ahead and keep it moving today. Talking about Black Muslim erasure in the Muslim Ummah, let me explain to you two examples. One was actually early today with Dr. Bilal Ware. I don't really get on my Instagram, but I saw this one, and it came because we were communicating via Instagram. A post went out on Instagram, and the post was about a female Muslimah who had become a judge. And this happens often. But she's the first hijabi judge. And Bilal came on in the way that Dr. Bilal comes on, and he said, well, and before he could get that, another brother Khalid Badoon, he said, no, she's not the first one. This one is the first hijabi judge. And Bilal came on and go, both of you are wrong. It's this sister from here, and she's from New Jersey, African-American sister. And he explained in a way, his own way, that while these are mistakes, the innocent mistakes, he said they just happen too often. He said they just happen too often, and it comes in a space whereby when people make these mistakes, of course, some of them are just genuine mistakes, but some of them are strategic. That some folks know that these are not the facts to be stated, but to put it out to an audience thinking that there's no one to refute the facts, this becomes the truth. And the issue of Black erasure will be a larger issue moving forward, because now we're getting into the space of culture. We're getting into a space of culture. The African American community has suffered issues of cultural appropriation for a lot of years. Music, dress, language, religion. I mean, it has been, even going back to child rearing, it was the black mammy who was raising the white kids. Let's just call it what it is. The thing that's been amazing over the years in the African American Muslim persona and identity, if you will, in terms of our relationship with race and religious cultural identification. What has become apparent is there's a pushback. It's not everybody. Hear me now. It's not everybody. And so this is not a blanket statement, but this is a reality statement that African American Muslims on whole live with every day. And when I say live with every day, it's the aspect that, one, being an African American of existence, and let me say existence and position in America, which means that you take up space, you breathe, you think, you love, you grow, you evolve, that somehow that space in the landscape of white supremacy is a threat. And by pursuing an independent, unbiased, organic relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that threat grows. Hear me now, that threat grows immensely. It can't be controlled. The ideology of the Black church, specifically giving birth to Black Islam in America, is one of the most unprecedented, still yet unexplained phenomena that it got to this point in American history. In the history of Islam in regards to this is something that is literally modern day miracle. That Black Islam in America is less than 100 years old, but has produced the cultural, I want to say, currency that spreads all over the United States. That you can have two movies that are iconic. You can have The Messenger and you can have Malcolm X. Two movies that are iconic. Malcolm X, many people, and we can go to forget the movie, the book. The book, the autobiography of Malcolm X, led to mass conversions in many spaces. Okay? And here in the United States, it's not that people want credit as African Americans. We want awareness and we want acknowledgement. You can't give me credit that I already have. You can't instruct me on what I've already learned. Of course, there's an aspect of Quran and Sunnah and traditional studies of the Islamic sciences. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the unique fixture of being able to take that Islam and make it work in this country. Not now, not 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. I'm talking about to the 1920s that you made it work then. At a time we had no protection of law, you had no guarantee of a vote, you didn't have the pathway to owning your house, you didn't have any of that. That religion becomes the protocol by which, in many regards, Black life and Black lifestyle and business and etiquette are established. A framework under religiosity for the Black family. Of course, there's the Victorian one, but then there was the Muslim one. And the Muslim one is the one I think most people pay attention to these days. And when I say pay attention to, it means that it has a universal value, whether you are Muslim or not Muslim. That is what I mean by the cultural value of this thing. And as much as I've talked about it up to this point, I find that these days, those accomplishments, those realities, those achievements, those foundations are quietly being moved away. Let me tell you how it happens. The idea of integration without education. Let me say it again. Integration without education. I will put it on the African American community somewhat because the love of Islam that gave us an international identity, that when we go around to places like Africa and Saudi Arabia and Pakistan and we see Muslims who are from, we just want to hug them because we believe that this religion is so true, that we haven't been tainted by wars, that we haven't been tainted by corrupt societies, Muslim countries that oppress Muslims and Muslims. We haven't gone through that. We dealt with the oppression here. And so when we go and we see that, we give a clean slate. We're not asking questions about what's wrong with Saudi Arabia or what's wrong with Dubai, what's wrong with Pakistan. When people come here to this country and say, that's my brother and sister, and we try to love you up the way we've had to love up ourselves. The problem is, in some cases, too many cases, it's not reciprocated. That the loving up is sometimes taken as a pathway to abuse, a pathway to taking advantage of what's already been established here. And that's the way it's been in some regards, but let me lead you down this path, if you will, that's become more and more prevalent because the pioneers who have the information, the pioneers that blaze the trails, are dying off. And the thing that they take with them, aside from the achievements, is they take that work ethic. You see, I understand the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is pushing 90. When we lost Imam Wafdi Muhammad, he was getting up there. But what happened was, in the push to be a part of this grand scope of universal Islam, we lost ourselves. And the love that we wanted to give to everybody, as it didn't come back, it created doubt. It created contempt. I just don't want us to get to a point where there's contempt because there's so much work to be done. We'll be right back here on the ShOUT Show. Don't you move, talking about Black erasure in the Muslim Ummah. We'll be right back. Hey, baby. babies. Welcome to Radio WCUC, Convenient Urgent Care, home of the smart patient. This is DJ What It Do. You know what time it is. It's the top of the hour, and the request lines are open. You know what you want to hear. I know what you want to hear. Operators are waiting.
I just got to hear Don't Get the COVID.
Don't get the COVID. Put your mask back on. The Delta COVID, more contagious than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get the vaccine. You know that it can keep you safe, and your people living up in your space. Don't get the COVID. You need to wash your hands. The Delta COVID is more deadly than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get your vaccine. You know that it can keep you from dying. Don't leave your family all alone and crying. Don't get the COVID.
We invite you to join our fight against COVID and against misinformation. It's time to listen to the doctors and trust the science.
When I think of people dying that don't have to die, it makes me sad. Now's the time to be sober. Together we can make this thing over. Let's fight the COVID. Convenient urgent care, home of the smart patient.
Shout out to Convenient Urgent Care in the city of Houston. Also want to send out some du'as to my main man from Convenient Urgent Care, brother Jazz Saeed. Experiencing some health issues. Been trying to connect with him, but he's been rather ill. So please keep him in your du'as. Something's going around. He's a good guy, friend of mine, supporter of the show. So I just want to make sure we get some du'as out to him. He said, I got to go to the doctor. He can't even go to Convenient Urgent Care. So I guess that's real. So again, keep him in your prayers. So I want to talk about this whole idea of Black erasure, which really comes down to value. I'm going to give you a little bit of a history lesson, if you will. And the story right here starts with Eli Whitney and a thing called the cotton gin. Now, so for those who won't know, the cotton gin replaced cotton picking in the South. That for those who could not afford slaves, now you had a financial remedy that was cheap. You didn't have to house the cotton gin. You didn't have to worry about the cotton gin running away. No rebellion from the cotton gin. It was repetitive. You could work it all day. You could work it to death or till it broke, and then you get yourself another cotton gin. Brothers and sisters, the cotton gin was the realignment of African American life in the aspect of slavery, whereby people who had looked at Black folk, slaves, assets as things of value now found that there were, I want to say, technology now gave you an opportunity, if you will, whereby you can replace that slave labor, which was expensive, with this machine. When I come to today's understanding, the Black Muslim erasure, in some regards, is a faux representation of the cotton gin. That our work, in some regards, has been put in a space where people value it just so that it can be unvalued or lower value. Case in point. Several years ago, when Muhammad Ali passed away, I attended his janazah in Louisville, Kentucky. And several people from an organization that shall remain nameless came up to me talking about Muhammad Ali. Did you know him? Then I said, I met him twice. I knew his family, I knew his daughter. Maymay Ali, we're great. That's my sister. But then they began to talk to me about how important it was that immigrant Muslims recognize the contributions of African American Muslims. And it was very, very flowery. And then they caught me in the chest like, well, damn, I've been saying this for years. People before me been saying this for years. And before people were saying it, they were doing it. What was the groundswell? What was the aha moment? What was the come to Jesus moment? And then it hit me that with Malcolm X gone and Muhammad Ali gone, there was no one that could be put out in front of white society that white society respected at that level. Let me say it again. That white society respected at that level, that brought a certain reverence to whole identity. And the whole identity of Malcolm X or Muhammad Ali as black Muslims was the fact that they weren't popular. They didn't start out popular. Through time and maturity and changing of culture and cultural identity and the evolution of thought and process and laws, people came to understand that these men were right. That these men were correct in their pursuit of certain things, that they stood on principle. And I asked my brothers and sisters in Louisville, is the issue that you can't produce somebody out of your particular community, and I mean out of the Indian Pakistani community, the Arab community, Turkish community, that somehow can have an example above everybody? And the answer was no. It was a quiet no, but it was no. And here's the thing you have to understand, or I will hope you get from this, that the people I mentioned, even inclusive of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, were people who grew outside of the the international Muslim scene. That they did it here in the United States. That this is, pardon the word, the Mecca for the world in terms of economics, in terms of politics, in terms of freedom of religion. That they did it here. And their work stands out. Imam Warfdin Muhammad's work stands out. Minister Farrakhan's work stands out. Muhammad Ali's work stands out. But what of everybody who's not of that stature? When I say of that stature, I'm talking about the day-to-day people who literally, a Muhammad Ali would stop and look at you crazy if you mistreated these people. The brother who cleaned up the masjid. The brother who cut hair. The brother who sat with the kids. The brother who bought you your water at the restaurant. He was concerned about those folks. And when I address the whole idea of black Muslim erasure, it is the fact that unless we have somebody that is flamboyant, well-regarded, universally accepted and loved, well, doggone, you ain't going to get no love. You're not going to get any love. And I'm going to say, outside of flamboyant, universally loved, respected, but universally feared. And what I mean by fear is that you couldn't put it over. See, that you can't put it over on some of our old guards or some of our pioneers. There are men in the masjid now that know rules, understanding, codes, and logic of how you deal with this whole thing of Islamophobia, but nobody wants to listen to them. It's at that level of erasure. Let me tell you a story. When we first did Allah Made Me Funny, I put in every press release that Allah Made Me Funny was a showcase to remind everybody of the many important contributions of African American Muslims in this country. That goes back to 2003. If you look at anything about Allah Made Me Funny in press, you'll find it maybe in 2 reports, 2 articles, but everything about that was pushed under the window. Thus, even my work as a comedian highlighting it, it gets pushed under the window. It gets pushed under the rug. People are not seeing it. And even more important, friendships. Intra-Muslim friendships are not being talked about. That the us versus we paradigm has returned in a very, very vicious way. I pray to Allah that we address this. If I was wrong in any regards, that's on me. All glory goes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but I have to say that this is extremely important. That's our show. Inshallah, I'll see you tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.